Thanks, Carl. It's great to see you all online. I can answer this in two ways. One, what is so critical now when we think about water, and also why there is this massive opportunity with the UN conference. But I start with the first, because we are crossing boundaries as humans when it comes to our full water cycle. And we just don't know, and we totally underestimate the risks. This is not about doom and gloom, but this is about reality. So right now, our groundwater, which is our predominantly where we are dependent on, it's our freshwater bank, you could say, is depleting at a rate unprecedented. And what is left, we pollute or becomes more saline. So you could think about groundwater as the bank you can, there's your savings for always. And then you open the valve and, there's nothing left, and the smell, crazy. It's like the worst. And then we have surface water in our rivers and lakes, but that's it's more or less what it is. But also the quality of that is under threat. So that means that if we look at what we have available, you can then say glaciers, but they are disappearing thanks to climate change. And the World Meteorological Organization's report that came out end of last year, also shows that these glacier compacts that are solidified water bank are also disappearing. So what's left is salt water and water in our sky. And the water in the sky we call green water, and all the other water is blue water. So when we think about blue water, there's less fresh water available of a quality we can actually use for consumption, agriculture, etc. And at the same time, our population grows, our economy still grows, our demand grows. So we need more, and we have less that we can trust. And at the same time, there's more in our sky that is actually hampering or bettering our economies and society, exacerbated by climate change. So we changed this whole hydrological cycle. And that is, we have to make sure we reverse, because that fresh water is the only thing we have. So if we take it out, forget about all the other security issues we'd like to talk about. And that makes it challenging. Yes, the future is here, a little bit ahead of schedule. Well, really depends on whose schedule you want to follow. The challenge with this is that water is and thus far still always has been perceived as a technical issue, something you can tap into or not, predominantly dealt with by male engineers. And if we talk about health, you just call them and say, turn on the tap for fresh water of high quality. If we think about agriculture and food, turn on the tap. And I'm not sure about you, but I've been part of many conversations, not being an hydrologist myself, where after 5 hours of talking about food security, without mentioning the word water once, you would ask, hey, isn't water of critical use and part of your interest? And the smart people, the investors, the decision makers, the policy makers, the professors would say, no, you solve the water crisis, then we deal with food. In the pandemic, the same, bringing water into the conversation of health often leads to a bigger divide. So we're siloed in a world, and this is how we organize ourselves. And water is this cross-cutting issue that you can't, leave in the hands of male engineers. It needs a whole of society approach, because where we are now, in the context of what we face, is a water crisis. We're in the midst of that. So that is the challenge. The opportunity is, so I think the hope is that you turn it around, the economics, the politics, and the logic, you could say, around water, and you understand that, hey, if I really understand all these relationships between water and health and climate and security, and start to value water in the context of that complexity, I can start to manage it. And then all of a sudden, everything I do with water, being it an investment, our capacity, the organization, the mix of all, starts to trickle down across everything in society we value. So water becomes the driver for reaching our goals instead of the blocker of preventing to get there. So while water is underpinning everything, water insecurity and the way we treat and deal water now is undermining achieving our goals. So I think there is this interesting balance that, and I, not being an hydrologist myself, I think it's magical. In all the work I've been leading, the moment you start a conversation on water, and this would be my last point, the third is, because it is connected to everything and everyone, the moment you bring water into the conversation, everybody is involved. It's a mayor, it's a business person, an investor, a farmer, an individual, a community leader, an NGO, an environmentalist, because by practice and by science, research, and data, we know our dependency. But in the way how we deal with it and how we prioritize it and how we politicize it and how we get to the economics of it, we just forget about it. But water is a real driver for that conversation. So this is the challenge, but I also say this is definitely the opportunity. And everything you bring in there has a catalyzing effect, an opportunity to create a ripple. Now, and then March, and I can tell you, Carl, I have to open my phone for that. But here's a widget. Oh, you won't be able to see it on my phone, but it says 50 days.
Yep. 50.
And then it's March 22nd. Tomorrow actually is February 1st. 70 years ago, in the Netherlands, we had a massive flood that killed close to 2,000 people. Our stark reminder that these challenges, being them disasters or crises, need a future-oriented, comprehensive, whole-of-society approach. And that is at stake also for this conference in March. We invited the world and want to support to bring the world to New York, to get to commitments, actions that we will bring together in a water action agenda, but also a bold agenda for the future, a provocation for the world that the way we deal with water now, how we misunderstand, undervalue, and mismanage water is not the pathway for the future. And that has to change. Now, within the UN context, water has no home, has no structure. We don't want only conferences. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, every 46 years. So we want to make sure that water is addressed in every possible way that is available without creating all these new institutions, but with a clear agenda, a clear roadmap, and a massively different ambition than we have now.